Save that one for later. You gonna count me off?
Okay.
Hair match. We know what happened thereafter, but we caught up with a wildcat on his way into the building today, and let me tell you, he was not a happy camper, and we have some words to share from the wildcat with you right now.
Noble Sheik, I want to tell you something. I don't think you really know who you're dealing with. You're dealing with the American original, the wildcat, a walking rebel flag. You know, I ain't really much of anything. I'm just a third-generation son of a sharecropper. My granddaddy during the Dust Bowl ran moonshine to put food on the kids' table. And you know, my mama rolled a Cadillac into a wheat field in 1957. Got a stalk of wheat through her shoulder, and they told her she would never walk again. But she got up out of that chair, and she ran, Jack. So if you think I'm down, you just keep thinking that. Let me tell you something, Noble Sheik. You think you're going to keep the wildcat down? You think you're going to keep the people down? You look into my eyes, pal, and let me tell you something. You can't stop me. I will take my title back. I will get my dignity back. The people have been up to that mountain and back with me 4 times, and they're going to do it one more. This Sunday, Bulldog Stadium, steel cage match. The only way to win is to knock your opponent out. Tasmanian deathmatch rules. One time, Sheik, you beat me. Can you do it again? Let me tell you something, Sheik. This morning, my daughter, she was sitting on my knee, big baby wildcat. She asked me, Daddy, how you going to beat the Sheik? How you going to beat his devilishly? And I said, honey, you just put your head right here. You just put your head against my chest. She put her ear against my heart. And she said, Daddy, what is that sound? What is that thumpity thump that I hear? And I said, baby, that is the heartbeat of America, and it beats in my chest. And it's going to beat all over you. You be ready, Sheik. That's me. That is me. In my mind, that's me. Well, when I feel good about myself, anyway. See, I wanted to be the hero. I've always wanted to be the hero. Goes on for years. Be quiet, John. It goes back years. When I was just a little kid, I would sit on my bed at night when I was supposed to be trying to go to sleep, and I'd pretend I was Aquaman in my flying bed. Yeah, when I was Aquaman, I had a flying bed. Look. I would sit in my big flying bed, my queen-sized orthopedic flying bed, and we would fight crime. We being me and my wife, Wonder Woman. We'd fight crime, and then we'd fly back to the Hall of Justice, and we'd have Taco Bell for dinner. And then I'd fall asleep. Always loved the heroes. You know, if I'd been born a couple generations earlier, it would have been cowboy shows. Hopalong Cassidy and Lone Ranger, that was all dead and gone by the time I came along. It was those guys for me. The Super Friends, Superman, Batman, Captain Marvel, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Aquaman, Flash. They were everything I wanted to be. Until 1986. In 1986, my family got Showtime. And in the summer of '86, Showtime showed WrestleMania 2. I taped WrestleMania 2 on my VCR. I rewound that tape and watched it approximately 637 times over the course of July of that year. I loved it. Comic books, put it aside, because this was real action. It was real, right there, real life. No Superman and Batman. We had Hulk Hogan and George the Animal Steel and Andre the Giant. These villains like Mr. Wonderful and Mr. Fuji and Don Morocco, all these bad guys. It was comic book violence right there in front of me. I loved it, and especially my favorite, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. This guy was about 300 pounds, and he had blonde hair, and he talked like a black guy. And he walked like a black guy, like a G Street hooker. Ow, baby! Hey now! Ow! Son! Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, is the only man that could have stood there on that day in front of all those people. Only white scream today, baby. Man could have put JFK to shame with his speeches. I loved him. He was everything I wanted to be. He talked about patriotism and honor and justice. Southern justice, in fact. And that's how I was raised. See that stupid little video there at the beginning? Most of it was true. My grandfather really ran moonshine. And he drank a lot of it too. He was always getting into it with his friend Garvin Anderson. Every story my grandfather ever told involved Garvin Anderson. Garvin Anderson got him into trouble on this day, and then this day. One time he came home, and Grandma had told him, now Toad, his name was General Alexander Walker. General was his first name, it wasn't his rank. But my grandmother called him Toad, everybody did. She said, Toad, don't you come home drinking again. Well, he came stumble-assing through the door, and so she was cooking mashed potatoes and had a pot full of boiling potatoes that she took out by hand and started hurling them at him. He took about 4 of them to the head, and that was the last time she caught him drinking. He and my mother taught me right from wrong. My mother's the strongest woman I ever knew. She did roll a Chevrolet into a wheat field in Kansas in about 57. The wheat was cut off at sharp points, like punchy sticks, and a stalk went through her shoulder. To this day, she can't lift her arm more than that. And they told her she would never walk again. But she remarried. She married my dad, and she had 3 kids, and I'm the youngest and the littlest. My mom had a very simple way of teaching right from wrong. If I did something she didn't like, she would simply look at me and say, I don't like that. And if you really got on her bad side, I mean, if you really hear, no, Mom, I'm going, forget it, that's it, I'm going, you shit too. I want you to take that phrase for a moment and roll that around in your head. You shit too. That makes no sense. But when my mother said it, you damn well knew what she meant. Every day my grandfather would walk to school and pick me up and walk me home. Wearing his little blue jacket and his big giant Stetson hat. And he'd just shuffle along with me. I was in elementary school. He'd tell this one nursery rhyme that he knew. Little Jack Horner sat in a corner eating his pumpkin pie. He stuck in his thumb and he pulled out a plum and said, what a great boy am I. And he shuffled along. He talked, mostly I just listened. It didn't do any good to talk to him. He was born hard of hearing. He never understood a word I said. Until I was 11, he swore my name was Calvin. Like the president, Calvin Coolidge. Calvin, get in here, satchel ass! Another thing I don't understand, satchel ass. Yeah, I understand satchel ass. Anyway, my grandfather, he had a simple way of teaching me too. He told me how to deal with bullies. Now listen. Them boys get to picking on you, you just take your hand and you ball it up in a fist and you put your weight behind it. My God, you put your weight behind it and you knock them out. Well, yeah, sure. We'd walk home, he'd whistle, shuffle along, stop and talk to the neighbors. Everybody knew him. And then I'd spend those afternoons at their house watching Super Friends or climbing the plum tree, listening to Grandma's old 45s. And then about 4 in the afternoon, we'd have dinner. About 5 o'clock, my mom would come pick me up, and about 6 o'clock, we'd have dinner at home. Now, I could refuse dinner at home. I was a big kid even then. No, it's all right. You don't need to eat. Just, it's all right. Just do your homework. It would have been fine, but not with my grandmother. No, you need to eat a little something. And it was an adventure. It was always salty and cooked in bacon grease. If you have anybody in your family who's from Oklahoma, you know where they kept the bacon grease. Both of my grandparents did snuff. Now, I'm not talking about the little tins of worm dirt you see the redneck jerks from Clovis did. No, these were big jelly jars full of powdered tobacco. And you just took a spoon and you put it in your lip and you sucked on it. And my brothers convinced me that it had brown glass in it, and that's how it got in their bloodstream. But they'd walk around all day with this mucus building up. And my grandfather had this little tin can, like an old green bean can that he put paper towels in. Yes. And all day he'd walk around going, you think that's done? Watch him sleep with a water in his mouth. He'd sit in his easy chair and he'd lean back. And I'd tell you about this, but it's more fun to show you. So this is how that went.